Hey guys, it's Dr. Hayes, and I wanted to make this video to sort of go through the Family Guy article that you guys had to read and analyze for today. The main reason for reading through this article is to look at some of the elements that we've talked about from the book so far and how each of these elements show up in a real article that a student wrote for their school paper. It's a little bit outdated. It's a little bit of an older article, but it still can illustrate how some of the different elements that we have read are edited in. So since the theme of the day is revision and the revision process, this is sort of an illustration of how you can revise essays that you're working on to add in these elements. So I have the pages pulled up here, and I thought I could just kind of go through them and draw on them like I did with the last article. So we'll just kind of go through. We're not going to read the whole article. I wanted to point out a few things. So at the beginning, notice the descriptive title, Family Guy and Freud jokes and their relation to the unconscious. Like that's the book. So the author, she is comparing Family Guy to this book. So it's a descriptive title. Notice, and you have these little identifying things in the margin over here showing what elements from the book are being used. So she's starting off this article with a they say. Some people say this, I say, and then she says, I say this, right? She's responding to what they say. So she's saying, all of these different people would think this, right? Or a lot of these different people have this mindset. This is what I say. And then notice this comment here, meta commentary. This is some of that meta commentary. She's commenting about the situation in first person, about how she decided on the topic for her paper. So she's like, what made me think of this in the first place? And here we go. Seriously, stay with me here, right? She has this meta commentary where she is acknowledging the subject matter, right? She's acknowledging that this is maybe an unconventional topic for a paper. So the setup here has, it has a lot of the elements so far that we've talked about. Let me go to the next page. I wanted to show you sort of how she incorporates some of her quotations. She's still having the first person here where she's talking about her experience, some of that meta commentary, how she refuses to give the DVDs back that she was loaned, how she sort of changed her mind. So she has these quotes here, and she's dealing again with what others say, like they say. She goes, I used to not like it, is basically her point, but I was not alone in that. Many still denounce Family Guy as bigoted and crude. So this many, she says, but then so then she gives some examples. Notice how she introduces this quote. New York Times journalist Stuart Elliott claimed, with that action verb there, claimed, and she has the quotation starts here, right? And she goes into the quote by him. So she sets that up really, really well. Let's go to the next page. And it continues on up here. And then she has another one up here. Likewise, Stephen Dubner, co-author of Freakonomics, called Family Guy. And then she goes into the quote. Sorry, my marker's doing something weird. And so she sets him up. Who's this guy? And this is what he wrote. And this is what he says. Notice her quotations are in quotation sandwiches. Like once she finishes the quote, she comments on it in her own words. She continues talking about the quotation, right? So she sets up the information in the quotation. She doesn't end the paragraph with that. She comments on it and offers her perspective. This whole part right here, she's talking about the source Dubner, but it's a paraphrase. She's kind of summarizing the facts from his from that source. Yeah, and notice a citation here where all this information came from. Here's another one where some of the statistics of the information came from. So I wanted to show you sort of how she incorporates some of her sources. Sorry. Let me go here. I think this is our next page. Yeah. So here we have, I wanted to point out, she's starting to do her counter arguing. See here, representing naysayers' objections. So she's saying all these people have had bad things to say about Family Guy. And here she is, she's agreeing, but like not quite. She's like, I must admit, I can see how parts of the show might seem offensive if taken at face value. So she's acknowledging the other point of view, right? With this right here, she's acknowledging the other point of view, and planting a naysayer. This is what we talked about before, where she's sort of predicting the argument that will be made to, you know, her thesis, and then she's addressing it, right? This part's a scene from the show. That continues on over here. So notice she's doing more of it. Notice here we have, ooh, that looks funny. She agrees, but with a difference. Like, she's like, okay, yeah, I agree with Dubner. You know, I failed to see how anyone could laugh at such jokes without feeling slightly ashamed. So she's saying, I agree with him, and, you know, and she adds her own like take with it. It's not quite the same thing that Dubner was saying, but she wanted to add her own point of view. Here's another counter arguing here. She has another naysayer. So, you know, she's saying that you know, she's sort of recounting of when she started watching it. She was forced to give Family Guy a chance, right? And so she's addressing, hey, in case you have any doubts about its immense popularity, consider these facts. This is where it gets kind of old. She's talking about Facebook fan groups that have just 1,600 people in them. They're much bigger than that now, because Facebook back, you know, when this came out, I think it was like 2007 or 8 or 9 maybe. This is like a 10-year-old article at least. So Facebook was not nearly as prolific in our culture as it was. So those numbers were very high back then. So she has some statistics here that she has is putting in about the stats of Family Guy. She cites it accordingly from where she's getting that information. What's the next thing? Yeah. Okay. So here, here's something where she distinguishes between others say and what she says. So, you know, she said, these are some people, those who don't often watch the program, could easily come to think that the cartoon takes pleasure, but those who pay more attention and think about the creator's intentions can see the Family Guy. So she's offering two different perspectives, right? There's these people who think this, then there's these people, which I'm clearly a part of, can see this. This is showing like her tone is a mixture of the formal and the informal. We talked about that before, right? Where, you know, she's quoting here. She says, you know, that take for instance a quip Brian the dog makes about Stewie's literary choices in a 4th season episode, and then in parentheses, never mind that a dog and a baby can both read and hold lengthy conversations. So she has this sort of meta commentary that's a little bit more casual. They point out a quotation sandwich here where she sets up the quotation, and then on the next page comments on the quotation. Here's where the quotation finishes, and then right here, notice that this is not indented. It's because this is part of the same paragraph. After a big quote like that, she's continuing on with the same paragraph with her comment. Here's another place where she's distinguishing what others say from what she says. Right, so she's talking about those, let's see, the moral color, the jokes that give Family Guy a bad name, right, attract a different kind of viewer. She's talking about those viewers are a certain way. Here's how a quote. This is an example of where she has a quotation, and then after it, she has who did it. You know, Dana Stevens, a writer at Slate. She has the action verb labels, right? And then she mentions the article by name here. So she has the quote first, and then all of the identifying information afterwards. So I wanted to kind of point that out for you. Here she has another one. This term screenagers, which she took from this guy, Douglas Rushkoff, and she put the essay in, you know, and the page where it came from after the fact. So that's some good stuff right here. Let's see. I want to move on to point out a few more things. Is this where we are? Yeah. Okay. So this is the next page. There's several places where she's, you know, interacting, setting up her sources. She's interacting with them, using their name, using these action verb, explains, right, using the correct page number citation in here. Here's you know, sort of, she paraphrases a little bit what he's saying, and then goes into a direct quotation here. Notice how she never ends the paragraph with a quotation. She comments, then comments here, then she has the quotation, and then she has her comment again, that quotation sandwich. Let's see, I think that's the only thing I wanted to point out on that. I don't want to go into too much detail. It's the same. Oh, this was interesting, where she compared taking Family Guy seriously would be just like reading A Modest Proposal seriously. I don't know if you've ever read A Modest Proposal, but it's satire, so that was a cool reference there. Let's see. I don't think we need anything from this one, structurally speaking. Here we go. Here's a little bit of, maybe a little bit of counter-argument, or kind of, it's her another point where she's offering sort of a counterpoint. It must be said, too, that not all of Family Guy's humor could be construed as offensive. Some of its jokes are more tame and insightful, the kind you might expect from The New Yorker. Sorry, I'm crossing everything out. I'm doing it as I read. So she's like, here's another point, a counterpoint, maybe, that, you know, I'm focusing on the offensive stuff, but not all of everything in Family Guy is offensive. So it's kind of like a counterpoint. There's a couple more pages of the article here. They keep pointing out where her transitions are, which is, you know, it's a good thing to note. Here toward the end, she agrees and disagrees, and makes concessions while standing her ground. So here we go. She's like, however, this is not to say that McFarlane's mission is correct or noble. She's admitting, you know, that was kind of bad. She's admitting a little bit of a disagreement here, right? This is not to say that McFarlane's mission is correct or noble. It is worth remembering that he wants only to amuse, a goal for which he was criticized. So, you know, she's saying his humor can be dangerous. I'm not like a one super fan, so she gives some counterpoints there. Then she goes into her point. I believe Family Guy, we go to the last page, has its intelligent points, and some of its seemingly coarse scenes have often hidden merit. She must concede, though, that a few of the show's scenes seem to be doing just what Will claimed. Sometimes the creators do seem to cross, or perhaps eagerly race past the line of indecency. So she's agreeing that there's some indecency there. But this is her conclusion, where she's showing that this is her so what. Who cares, right? Why does this matter? So I'll let you read through this conclusion. I'm drawing to the end of my video here, my time. But the conclusion just kind of pulls her so what into it. And yeah, you can read that. I will post this in Discord and see y'all later.